A speaking event at Utah Valley University turned into a scene of tragedy and chaos on September 10, 2025. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was scheduled to address a large crowd of students and supporters. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation. People had gathered to hear him speak about his vision for America. However, the event was cut short by a sudden and violent act. A single gunshot rang out, causing immediate panic and confusion among the attendees. The sound echoed through the venue, and what was meant to be an evening of political discussion became a moment of profound loss that no one could have predicted. The incident happened just as the event was getting underway. People were still finding their seats and settling in for the evening's program. When the shot was fired, many did not immediately understand what had happened. Some thought it might have been a technical malfunction like a speaker popping, but screams soon followed, and the reality of the situation became clear. Security personnel and event staff rushed toward the stage as attendees scrambled for safety. The sense of order that had existed only moments before completely dissolved, replaced by fear and disbelief in the face of an unthinkable act of violence. Emergency services were called to the scene within minutes. First responders arrived to find a chaotic environment. They worked quickly to provide medical assistance and secure the area. The focus of their efforts was on Charlie Kirk, who had been struck by the bullet. Despite their swift response, the injury was too severe. The news that he did not survive sent a wave of shock and grief through the university campus and beyond. The event, which had been planned to inspire and engage, was now the site of a devastating tragedy that would be remembered for years to come. This terrible event has left the community at Utah Valley University deeply shaken. Students and faculty who were present are struggling to process what they witnessed. The university has since canceled classes and is offering counseling services to those affected by the incident. The campus, usually a place of learning and lively debate, has become quiet and somber. The shooting has raised serious questions about security at public events and the safety of political figures. It serves as a grim reminder of the potential for violence in a deeply divided society, leaving many to wonder how such a tragedy could have occurred. Charlie Kirk was a prominent figure in American conservative politics. He was born on October 14, 1993, which made him 31 years old at the time of his passing. He was best known as the founder and president of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization he started in 2012. His goal was to promote conservative values on high school and college campuses across the country. Through his work, he became a powerful voice for young conservatives. He traveled extensively, speaking at universities and conferences, and encouraged students to get involved in politics and stand up for their beliefs in free markets and limited government. Kirk's journey into political activism was unique. Instead of attending college himself, he chose to dedicate his time to building Turning Point USA from the ground up. This decision became a key part of his personal story. He often spoke about his belief that universities were not always welcoming to conservative ideas. His organization grew rapidly, establishing chapters on thousands of campuses. He hosted large-scale events that attracted thousands of young people. He was also a successful author and hosted a popular daily radio show and podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, where he discussed current events and political issues. Through his efforts, Charlie Kirk inspired a generation of young people to embrace conservative principles. His message resonated with many who felt that their views were not represented in mainstream culture or education. He was known for his energetic speaking style and his ability to communicate complex ideas in a simple, direct way. He encouraged his followers to be confident in their convictions and to engage in respectful debate. His leadership helped create a strong and active community of young conservatives who are now a significant force in American politics. He was a mentor to many and a leader in the movement. Beyond his public role, Charlie Kirk was a husband and a man of faith. His personal life often informed his public positions, particularly on social and cultural issues. He was a polarizing figure. While his supporters saw him as a courageous leader, his critics often disagreed with his strong rhetoric and political stances. However, his dedication to his cause was undeniable. He worked tirelessly to advance the conservative movement and to give a voice to those he felt were being silenced. His sudden and tragic death leaves a significant void for the many people who look to him for guidance and inspiration. The shooting occurred on the evening of Wednesday, September 10, 2025, at the UCCU Center on the campus of Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Charlie Kirk was on stage preparing to deliver his keynote address for a Turning Point USA event. The auditorium was filled with an estimated 2,000 attendees, mostly students and local residents. According to witness accounts, the incident happened around 7:15 p.m. Kirk had just stepped up to the podium and was greeting the crowd when a single loud gunshot was heard. He immediately fell to the ground and chaos erupted throughout the venue. Witnesses described a scene of mass confusion and terror. In the initial moments, the sound was so abrupt that many were unsure of its source. However, as people saw Kirk collapse, panic set in. Attendees began to duck for cover or run for the exits. Security guards on site acted quickly, rushing to the stage to aid Kirk and attempting to locate the source of the shot. The shooter's position was not immediately obvious, which added to the fear and uncertainty. The large, crowded space made it difficult to identify where the attack had come from, allowing the person responsible to escape in the ensuing pandemonium. First responders, including police and paramedics, arrived on the scene within minutes. They found a frantic and frightening situation. They worked to evacuate the building while medical personnel attended to Charlie Kirk. He had sustained a single gunshot wound to the chest. Despite their best efforts to treat him at the scene and transport him to a nearby hospital, his injuries proved to be fatal. He was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The news confirmed the worst fears of everyone present and sent a shockwave of grief through his family, his organization, and his supporters across the nation. The person responsible for the fatal shooting managed to slip away undetected during the chaos. The attack appeared to be well planned, with the single shot fired from a distance within the large venue. Law enforcement officials believe the shooter may have blended in with the crowd before and after the incident. The search for the suspect began immediately, with the campus and surrounding areas placed on lockdown. Police began interviewing hundreds of witnesses and reviewing security footage from the UCCU Center. The motive for the attack is unknown, but authorities are treating it as a targeted assassination. The news of Charlie Kirk's death spread rapidly across the country, leading to an immediate and powerful outpouring of emotion. On social media, supporters expressed their shock and heartbreak. The hashtag RIP Charlie Kirk trended for hours as people shared their favorite quotes, videos, and memories of him. Many young conservatives wrote about how he had inspired them to become politically active and to feel proud of their beliefs. Tributes poured in from political leaders, media personalities, and grassroots activists who saw him as a brave and essential voice in the conservative movement. They described his loss as devastating and irreplaceable. Prominent figures from all sides of the political spectrum shared their reactions. Conservative leaders mourned the loss of a close ally and friend, praising his passion and dedication. Many Republican politicians released statements offering condolences to his family and condemning the senseless act of violence. Even those who often disagreed with Kirk's politics expressed their sorrow over his tragic death. They acknowledged the human tragedy of a young life cut short and called for an end to political violence. The shared grief for a moment seemed to transcend the deep political divisions that often characterize public discourse. The public response was a reflection of the strong feelings people had about Charlie Kirk. For his followers, he was more than just a political commentator. He was a leader who gave them a sense of community and purpose. Vigils and prayer services were organized by Turning Point USA chapters on college campuses nationwide. Students gathered to light candles, share stories, and support one another in their grief. These gatherings highlighted the profound personal impact he had on his followers. They saw his death not just as a political event, but as the loss of a mentor and a friend who had changed their lives. Online, discussions about the shooting were intense and emotional. Many of his supporters voiced anger and frustration over the attack, calling it a politically motivated assassination. They urged law enforcement to act swiftly to find the person responsible. At the same time, there were calls from community leaders for calm and unity. They emphasized that violence should never be the answer to political disagreements. The tragic event forced a difficult national conversation about the heated nature of political rhetoric and the importance of ensuring the safety of those in the public eye, regardless of their views. The investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder is now a top priority for law enforcement in Utah. A multi-agency task force, including local police, state investigators, and the FBI, has been formed to lead the search for the shooter. Authorities are meticulously combing through all available evidence. This includes hours of security footage from the UCCU Center and surrounding areas, as well as videos and photos taken by attendees. They are urging anyone who was at the event to come forward with any information, no matter how small it may seem. The main challenge is that the shooter has not yet been identified or apprehended. Investigators are working hard to piece together a timeline of the attack. They believe the shooter acted alone and likely had experience with firearms. The precision of the single shot in a crowded venue suggests a high degree of planning. Law enforcement officials have not yet commented on a possible motive, but they are exploring all possibilities, including the idea that the attack was politically motivated. A significant reward has been offered for information leading to an arrest. The pressure to solve this high-profile case is immense, as the public waits for answers and justice for Charlie Kirk. The future of Turning Point USA is now a major question. Charlie Kirk was not just the founder, he was the face and driving force of the organization. His vision and leadership were central to its identity and success. Without him, the organization faces an uncertain path forward. The remaining leadership team has released a statement vowing to continue his work and honor his legacy. However, finding someone to fill his role will be an enormous challenge. The organization must now navigate a difficult period of transition while grieving the loss of its leader and reassuring its thousands of members and supporters. In the coming weeks and months, Turning Point USA will have to make critical decisions about its direction. The organization's ability to continue its mission will depend on the strength of the team Kirk built around him. They will need to show supporters that the movement is bigger than one person, even one as influential as Charlie Kirk. The investigation will also continue to unfold, and any new developments will be closely watched by the public. For now, a community is in mourning, an organization is facing a difficult future, and a nation is left to grapple with the consequences of a senseless act of violence.